Good afternoon. My name is Will Lawson. This is the Will Lawson Show here on iHeartRadio. It is, as always, it is a pleasure to be here. We are going to continue our campaign against Hillary Clinton, and I don't want to make any bones about it. There is no way I'm going to sit quietly by and let the narrative of the left become the narrative of the day. The fact of the matter is, the Clinton way is when they tell a white lie when the truth would have been perfect. And if they have to tell a white lie, then a huge lie is in order. And it is the way they do it. It's the way that both of them have behaved their entire time in public life. And Hillary Clinton continues to this day. As a matter of fact, there was a story that was on BuzzFeed that Hillary spoke in Norwalk, Iowa yesterday about her family arriving in the country. What she said was, all my grandparents, came over here. All my grandparents, came over here, she said. Saying that all her grandparents, on her mother's side and her father's side, were immigrants. Well, the fact of the matter is only her paternal grandfather, Hugh Rodham Sr., immigrated to the United States. Only, according to public record, only her paternal grandfather, her dad's dad, came to the United States. Her paternal grandmother, Hannah Jones Rodham, was born in Pennsylvania. Now, how do people know this? Because there are records. Somebody looked it up. And here's what's going to happen as we move forward. When people say something, someone will look it up. And sometimes and most times when it comes to Hillary Clinton or anybody else on the Democrat side, it's not going to be CNN. It's not going to be MSNBC. It's not going to be CBS. It's not going to be the New York Times or the Washington Post. It's going to be BuzzFeed. It's going to be the Willie Lawson Show. It's going to be it's going to be the Exceptional Conservative Show on iHeartRadio. That's what it's going to be. You're going to see it not written in the Huffington Post or the New York Times online or Washington Post online or USA Today online. That's not where you're going to see it. Where you're going to see it on places like BuzzFeed, you're going to see it at websites like libertynews.com. That's where you're going to see it. That's how this game is going to be played. That's how this game is going to be played. If you are interested, and this is going to be a very short little message for you. If you are interested in the truth, if you're interested in an honest debate, if you're interested in this not being a campaign of personality, this not being a campaign of PR, that this ends up being about the issues, and this ends up being about the character of the individual, then guess what? You're going to have to open your ears to another or many other sources than you may be used to listening to. I was in the yard raking leaves this afternoon, and I was thinking about what happens when people don't go to church. Okay. I was thinking about what happens. What happens is that they spend the majority of their time with unchurched, usually ungodly people in ungodly situations. So what happens then is that their life gets out of balance because what they hear and see all the time is everything that's antithetical to what the Word of God preaches or what may be preached in their church. So their life becomes out of balance. So the way they react to things becomes out of balance. The things they say become out of balance. Everything becomes out of balance. Now, here's what happens when you don't look to center right media for what's going on in your country and in the world. It's that it's out of balance. The folks at Fox News, their tagline is fair and balanced. Well, maybe. It seems like, it seems like they're the right wing, but then that's only because things are so out of balance. Things are so terribly, awfully out of balance when it comes to media. When you start looking at MSNBC, you start looking at CNN, you start looking at how excited they are to push the narrative of the left, and they'll say anything and do anything, close a blind eye to the truth. For instance, how many people saw the story on MSNBC that Russia now is selling missiles to Iran? Anybody see that story on MSNBC? That now that the president has made this deal with Iran, the Soviet Union, Russia, Vladimir Putin, is deciding to sell missiles to Iran. Now, missiles are defensive weapons, right? Yeah, right. I just find it an interesting time that the Soviet Union, Russia, and Vladimir Putin says, hey, what a great time to sell Iran, the biggest state sponsor of terrorism, missiles. Now that the sanctions are being lifted, and now there's a deal in the works that can and by all accounts will lead to Iran having a nuclear weapon. Makes you kind of wonder if they already do. Some people say they do. They just don't have a delivery system. Well, now they've got a delivery system. Isn't that lovely? Isn't that lovely? Did you see that story on MSNBC? No, of course not. Now you're going to listen to this, and now you're going to say, "Well, yeah, I need to go learn more about that." You damn sure do. Because if you don't, you're going to wake up surprised one morning after Iran takes some of those Soviet missiles, puts a dirty isotope on top of one, and sends it crashing into Israel. And you'll wonder, well, why did this happen? What did Israel do? Why? Because that's how the mainstream media, especially the leftist media, will play it. And you'll say, well, Willie, you know what? This all gets too much. I don't have time for all of it. Well, none of us have time for all of it. But this stuff is serious. This isn't television. This isn't a TV show. This isn't Game of Thrones. This isn't Scandal. This is real life. This stuff is, and it may be too much to deal with, but this is real life that's happening right now to you. So you think it's happening to somebody else, but this is happening in your lifetime to you. To you. So if Iran, and we say it again, one of the largest sponsors of state sponsors of terrorism, has some extra missiles, who's to say that ISIS doesn't find these missiles, or Hamas doesn't find these missiles, end up with a Soviet missile that gets launched now from Cuba, because the president has decided that Cuba no longer needs to be on the terrorist watch list, you see, because they're good. They're good. He's running around making friends. Think about this president. This president is running around making friends with some of the biggest despots in the world. Now he's on good terms with, shaking hands with Raul Castro, murderer of his own people. Shaking hands and being all buddy with the leaders of Iran. Isn't this an interesting point? In this country, the president is a big supporter of gay rights, same-sex marriage, and the like, and hates religious freedom laws, like the ones in Arkansas and in Indiana. However, is perfectly happy sitting down with a nation and with a group of people who have thrown supposed homosexuals off of buildings because they were gay, because they were homosexual. These are the same people. These are the same people. And the president, of course, is all buddy with with National Organization of Women, because he's for women's rights and gender equality and those kind of things, while still making friends with some of the most oppressive regimes for women in the world. And why aren't these points brought to the fore on MSNBC, on CNN, on NBC, ABC? Is because they are opposite of the narrative that the left wants to expose you to. They can't elect or get Hillary Clinton elected if they tell you the truth about the hypocrisy that exists with these people. And the hypocrisy, ladies and gentlemen, is freaking everywhere on the left. It's every freaking where. And I think that's the part that drives me personally the nuttiest. This is a quote from Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple, and this is probably a really good reason I won't be owning any Apple products in the near future. This is from Tim Cook. Regardless of what the law may allow in Indiana or Arkansas, we will never tolerate discrimination. Now, he set up Apple's headquarters not in Israel, where the rights of gays are protected by law, but in Dubai, where the death penalty applies. See, this is the stuff that makes your head explode. Tim Cook decided that he would set up Apple's head office not in Israel, where the rights of gays are protected by law in Israel, but in Dubai, where there is the death penalty for homosexuality. My question to Mr. Cook is, what the hell are you talking about? Your mouth is saying one thing, but your hands are dealing in death. Your hands are doing something else. Your hands and feet are somewhere else. That's hypocrisy. It's wanton hypocrisy. So as they pander to a whole group of Americans that, oh no, we're sensitive to your needs. Yeah, but we're going to do business with people who want to see you dead, instead of doing business with people who don't agree with you but will protect your rights by law. That's who the left is. That's who these people are. That's who these people are. So what you have to do is you have to make sure that you keep a balanced approach to the information that you get and how you get it. Because if you do not, I'm telling you, if you do not, what will happen is that you will get so much of the other side, you won't know what end is up. You won't know what to react to, what not to react to. You won't know what to believe or not to believe. Now, I'm going to tell you, we're running out of time, but there's going to be several thousand Republican candidates for president. Okay, I'm exaggerating. There's only be several hundred. And if you want to know who they are, what they're about, you're going to have to do a lot of work on your own. You're not going to be able to listen to the talking heads on MSNBC or CBS or NBC. You're not going to be able to do that. That's not how you're going to be able to tell a difference. And I've been reading a lot of nonsense going on Facebook amongst Republicans saying, well, we're just going to wait till the debates. Well, you can't wait to the debates. The debates aren't going to do you a doggone bit of good, because they're going to be set up by the leftist media. And if they're set up by the leftist media, then they're not going to do you any good, because those are the people who will be framing the questions. And if the questions are framed in a way that no one can look good, and that's what they normally do, guess what? You're not going to learn anything. So what you're going to have to do, if you are someone who's conservative, who wants to know about these folks, what you are going to have to do is do your research, is to make phone calls, is to write emails, is to ask questions, get involved in campaigns. You're going to have to learn firsthand, if entirely possible. There'll be debates. They won't do you any good. I promise you they won't do you any good. Don't wait for debates. Don't think that that's going to make a difference for you, because what will happen is you'll just be more confused than ever. Don't wait until to see how somebody does in a debate, and then have the leftist media tell you who won. It won't work. You know, it's interesting. We were at Presidency 5, the debate, the Florida debate in 2012. And what was really interesting was that although I was not a Gary Johnson fan, not from the beginning and not afterwards, there was no way that debate was set up for Gary Johnson, the libertarian, who ended up being a libertarian candidate, to do well. There was no way that it was set up that, you know, he was basically ignored the whole night. Although he had some of the best lines of the night, he was basically ignored the whole night. This debate was about Herman Cain and Mitt Romney. There's no way it wasn't set up to hear what somebody like Gary Johnson had to say, or Ron Paul had to say, or even Rick Perry to a degree, although he had the biggest stumble of the night. So you know what? You can't wait the debates are useless. Useless. You're going to have to do some research on your own. You're going to have to make some contacts on your own. You're going to have to get on your knees and pray, and then find someone to support them. All right, we got to get out of here. Thanks for coming to the Will Austin Show here on iHeartRadio. Until we see you again, go out there and learn something, love somebody, and for goodness sakes, take care of yourself. We will see you when we see you.